Hey, my name is Madison with Blackhat Vapor. I'm here at our beach shop. It's a gorgeous shop. You guys should definitely come check it out. I wanted to talk to you guys today about the differences between mechanical and variable voltage batteries. There's a lot of different stuff out there. It can get really confusing with all the jargon and the sizes and all the options. So hopefully I can clear that up for you guys a little bit today. The first thing that people usually get into when they're looking into variable voltage is something like this. This is just a little ego spinner type battery with your variable voltage on the bottom with just a nice, regular, cheap, good working tank on top. The reason people get into variable voltage is because you've got the option to turn the voltage a little bit up. You're basically just turning the heat to the coil up a little bit. And with that, you're going to get a little bit extra vapor. With something like this, you don't have a huge amount of play. You can turn it up a little bit. You can't usually turn it all the way up before it starts tasting burnt. They start tasting burnt because those wicks are not wicking the fluid fast enough to the coil, and then it burns off, and then you end up kind of just burning the wicking material. If that happens though, the good thing with these is that you can just turn it down. You can find the right area. Now, because people like turning the voltage up so much, they like that extra vapor, everyone's always kind of like wanting more of it. With something like this, you just feel like, oh, I just want a little bit more. I wish it wouldn't taste burnt when I turn it up. So the industry's really been pushing for just better technology with these tanks that can allow you to do that. Something like this is, another thing you would buy. There's all sorts of reasons to start upgrading. This right here is just basically a bigger battery, same function, same kind of tank. But you've got small differences. You've got a dial. You can kind of look at the voltage there. So there's all sorts of options. But as people wanted that more vapor, the tanks started getting better. Something like the Nautilus has better wicking materials, and just it wicks better in the way that it just won't go dry quite as quickly. So with that, you get the option of turning that wattage up. You can turn it up even higher and hit it more often and not have it taste burnt. This Nautilus is sitting on top of an iStick, same kind of thing. You've got all sorts of options, an ohm reader, your battery life, and you can go all the way up to 20 watts. Now this tank can't take 20 watts before it starts tasting burnt, but you can get close and you can get a lot more vapor. Another thing it's got is adjustable airflow. So you can kind of take those large inhales and get even more vapor, and with that you can even turn the wattage up more because that air is coming in on the coils, and it would be like almost if you blew on the coals of a fire and you get a little extra smoke. Now, there's even more wattage in some of these other mods, and you might think, why would I need more wattage than that? It just keeps going up and up. Well, the designs are getting better and better. Something like the Atlantis is just an upgraded version of the Nautilus, really. You've got these coils in here which wick even better and can really take it and even more airflow, and you can turn this thing up a lot to the point where these things are actually competing with rebuildables. So you can turn this, it's sitting on a IPv2X. This thing goes up to 60 watts. Again, this Aspire Nautilus, the Atlantis, can probably only go up to like 25 watts before it starts tasting burnt, but that's a lot. That's, it's a good amount of power pushing to that coil. So, people really, they start looking for ways to get more vapor and stuff like that, and there's all sorts of options. And it even goes higher than that. We've got like a 150 here, which you can run the Nautilus on. This thing will also work with rebuildables, which really require a lot of watts usually to get all of that vapor. So when you're looking for things like this, you just need to kind of pay attention to what your tank can take advantage of, how many watts it can really use, and how many watts your device can go up to, and see if they're compatible and see if it's something that would fit for you. And just take note of what kind of vapor you're looking for. Do you want that huge vapor? You're going to end up spending a little bit more money, but there's stuff out there now that can satisfy pretty much everyone. Now, my friend John, he uses really high wattage mods. He uses them mostly with rebuildables, and I wanted to bring him a little bit to tell you guys about what advantages you would have with that really high wattage and what the purpose is, because it can seem really confusing and kind of pointless if you don't really understand why it works. So I'm going to go ahead and bring John in here to talk to you guys. John, get in here.
Hey, how's it going, Madison?
Very good. Very well. Hey, this is John. He manages this store, our beach store. He does a great job of it, and he's really into like this high wattage stuff. So you're using something that's got a lot of watts right now. Tell us a little bit about that thing.
Well, what I'm currently using right now is the Variant Titanium Slim. It does 260 watts. It's not for your average user. If you want to build wider coils, more wraps, if you want to have cool vapor, this is going to be great for that, because then you can really utilize the wattage that's outputted up from this box, versus like a mechanical, which you would have to use less wraps to get lower ohm rating, so you can produce like the same amount of vapor, but it's also going to be warmer.
Right, right. And so like with these, I've always seen you use a rebuildable with it. I mean, when I use something really high wattage, usually use a rebuildable. Obviously, you don't. I mean, I guess you could use like the Atlantis on it or something like that. But would you recommend just always using a dripper with something like this? Is that what it's primarily for? Those really high watts?
You can use a tank with this mod, but you're really going to get the full potential with a dripper. With the tank, you're going to be a little restricted on how high you can turn it up. For example, the Atlantis, like a little bit past 20 watts is okay. 25, 26 is probably the max I've ever experienced it before it started burning. But tanks can totally be used on these things.
So do you think that, I mean, because some people they'll look at the Sigelli and they'll be like, well, 150, that should be enough. In what situation would you actually want to go that high? Because 150, I mean, I've used something, I get up to like 40 watts and I'm like, oh, it's plenty. I've got plenty of stuff. So like, what, that 260, can you like see a situation where you'd actually use all 260 of those watts?
Well, today was the first day I've actually utilized 260 watts. I built four coils with 28 gauge. Did 10 wraps with each of the coils, and it definitely produces a lot of vapor at 260 watts.
And so, like all those coils, I guess the function of that is to make it cooler, right? Because you're always like, I know I've handed you like, because I build on a mechanical, so I'm always building really low, and I've handed you that, and you're just like, oh, it's so warm, and then I see you, hit yours, and you're getting all this vapor, but I guess so you're putting all those coils in for all that space so that you can have a cooler vape, right? I mean, that's the idea.
Correct. You're going to get the cooler vape, and with all that surface area, you're getting so much more flavor as well. You're burning off a lot more juice. I mean, it's not to say that
you're running through juice really fast.
Well, you will run through juice fast with the dripper, but even with all those coils, it can retain a lot of juice with all the cotton that you can put in there, which is really great.
Okay, well, I want to see what it can do at 260 because you said you just did it today, so
260.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's 4 coils.
And it stays cool like that?
Yeah.
Oh, we tried.
Nice and cool.
Is there liquid on there?
Yeah, there's plenty of liquid on there.
I'm scared to do it.
You'll be all right.
Yes.
It still keeps coming.
Yeah, no, that's crazy because it's like a lot more vapor than mine, and it's still pretty cool. All right, well, yeah, thank you, John. Thanks for telling us about the really high watts and everything like that. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks for visiting me at the beach today.
Yeah, I love this store. That's great.
Yeah, glad you like it.
So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about mechanical mods. These things are pretty different than your variable voltage. So with variable voltage, you've got all the options to turn it up and down and everything like that in your LCD screen. This has none of that. It's mechanical, so it's got no chips in it, no wiring, anything like that. It also doesn't have any protection, which is a very big thing to think about. With these, you've got chips that'll like keep you from turning it up too much and making the batteries dangerous. And that's why rebuildables were really at first, especially with mechanical mods, considered very much an advanced user thing, because if you don't wire it up right, you can end up hurting yourself. You can really ask for too much power from that battery. So the way these work is you basically got your shell, and you've got a battery something like this, usually an 18650 with a tube mod like this, and then you've got your atomizer on top. That battery makes connection with the button when you press it, and it makes connection with the coils that you've built inside. This thing's going to function primarily on what resistance you build your coils to. So instead of turning it up and down like those, you control how much vapor you get, how much power you get, how much heat you get from when you're rebuilding the coil. So you're going to wrap those coils around some wicking material, and then you're either going to do a lot of wraps, you'll get a higher resistance, or not very many wraps, you'll get a lower resistance. And the whole resistance thing, it's really easy to kind of think about how that works by just remembering the word resistance. That means it's resisting the battery. So if you've got less wraps, less resistance, it's going to resist that battery power less. So you're going to get more power. If you've got a higher resistance, it's going to resist it more. And these things put out a pretty standard voltage depending on, how discharged the battery is. So you're getting a straight voltage to that coil, and depending on how you've wrapped it with low or high resistance, that's how much heat is going to hit those coils. So this was a really good way, without the protection and everything, that you could, users themselves could build the coils just how they wanted and build that resistance lower and lower and ask for more battery power from the battery, and that way they could get a lot more vapor. These things are, they're not too dangerous, but you really have to pay attention to what you're doing. You have to make sure you're using a safe battery. You're going to have to make sure that you're using a battery that can really take the amount of power you're asking from it with your build. You have to make sure you build well. So, I would say if you really want to get into this stuff, come into one of our stores, go into whatever vapor stores near you, talk to them about it, watch a lot of YouTube videos. Make sure everything you're using is safe. But this is a great option for people that, maybe don't want to spend the money on a really, really powerful variable wattage mod, or just someone that likes the size. I personally like this tube size, more than carrying around a big box. So it depends, and you've got a lot of options. And, hopefully I've clarified a little bit for you guys what all these different things are. But again, go talk to your vapor shops, go to YouTube channels, look at it, do your research, and I think you'll find something that definitely works for you. I'm Madison with Blackhat Vapor. I hope this video has really helped you out, and I'll see you guys in another video.
Camera's going. Sound rolls. All right, go ahead.
Are we already on thing?
Yeah.
Oh. See, the key to like bad note in jazz is like, if you make a bad note in jazz, you just got to do like 6 or 7 bad notes again. Well, it's on purpose. It's jazz. If you just do one, they're like, oh, I got f***ed up. That's what this face is. The jazz face.
So,
up, and then they're like, I gotta keep on f***ing up.